Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we're going to do our little write-up for the 5-game slate for tonight. It starts at 7 p.m. We have 5 good games here. If you don't mind, can you please smash that like and subscribe button? I'm talking a little bit softly because I have hurt a rib or something, and it's a little bit painful to talk, so I'm just going to try to get through this relatively quickly. With that said, let's get into the point guards themselves. We have Jordan Poole, who takes advantage of the fact that Klay Thompson is still limited. He should get plenty of minutes in this one against Sacramento, and he shouldn't really have too much of issue getting his shots off and stuff like that, and as well as being able to get assists and things. The only real risk here is that Golden State blows out Sacramento, who is on a back-to-back, but overall he's in a great spot, and I would say that he probably has a good chance of getting a decent chunk of minutes, even if there is a blowout. So he will be one of my top options today. Shea Alexander is another good option today. He absolutely just destroyed Minnesota in the first game, and they really don't have too many guys that can stop him. I really do like him on this particular slate. He's been good every game so far. Then we're going to take a look at CJ McCollum for the Pelicans against Utah. CJ McCollum is one of their top options for shooting, and he's been shooting the ball pretty well so far this season, hitting several threes. And he's also getting peripheral points, which is a nice bonus with him as well. And so what we need is for him to continue that. And he's got a nice matchup here against Utah, which he should be able to exploit. And while Utah has some toughness down low, he's going to be able to get his shots off pretty well in this game. Then we're going to look at Donovan Mitchell. Now, Donovan Mitchell is Cleveland's top point guard, and because of Garland being hurt, he's going to have a lot of advantages. He's been playing extremely well, and his price point actually came down from his last game against Chicago. Obviously played yesterday, but he's going to be looking to take a ton of shots. And he's a very aggressive guard, so he tends to get rebounds and assists. And so I do like him a lot on this particular slate. The only real risk for him is the fact that he's on a back-to-back, and it is a little, and that can sometimes slow a guy down. But he's a pretty young player, so I don't expect that to be too much of an issue. Then we're going to look at Stephen Curry. Now, Stephen Curry is not the most ideal option on the slate. It's really hard for him to get over 5x or 6x based on his price point. But he does have a nice plus matchup here. The only real issue here is the fact that this game will probably get out of hand with the back-to-back situation that the Kings are in, as well as the fact that the Warriors are just been dominating people. And I don't expect Curry to play as many minutes as he has in the first couple games. So he has a little bit of risk involved with him, but overall it's still a good option. As shooting guard, obviously we have Jordan Poole and Donovan Mitchell, who I already mentioned. Another guy we like here is Devin Booker. Now Devin Booker is going to have a little bit of an issue today because it looks like Kawhi Leonard and John Wall will be back, and they will probably put Kawhi on Booker. So this might be more beneficial for his teammates, like especially for DeAndre Ayton. But I still think he's a pretty decent option on this particular slate just because of his pure ability. He's been hitting shots in these first 2 games over top of guys double and triple teaming him, so it seems like he's pretty matchup proof. And as long as his price remains below right around 9,000, he's a guy you have to consider night in and night out. Then we're going to look at Kevin Huerter. See if I can find him for Sacramento. He's been playing about 30 minutes each game, and he's averaging over 30 fantasy points. He's just a good sharpshooter, and he's been getting peripheral stats too. He doesn't get a ton of them, but he does get a few, and when he hits shots, then his fantasy points just fly through the roof. I look for him to have an opportunity here, especially with the way the Kings are playing. He's probably going to get more minutes today since several guys will probably play a little bit less, but even if the game gets out of hand, he'll still get plenty of minutes. He is basically in Buddy Hield's spot, and so he's looking pretty good. Another guy for Sacramento, or sorry, another guy to take a look at here is Karis LeVert. Now, Karis LeVert is a shooting guard for the Cavs, and he has a good opportunity here. He's been playing pretty well so far this season. With injury to point guard, this also gives him more upside, and his price point has come up some, but he's still a good value based on the fact that he's going to get tons of opportunities and tons of minutes. Then we're going to look at small forwards. So we already have Karis LeVert there, but we're also going to look at Lauri Markkanen. Where is he at? So for Utah against the Pelicans, now this is a little bit of a tough matchup for him, but he's been great in the first 2 games of the season. His price point has come up a little bit, but overall I expect him to be able to get to that 30 or so points that we need. He did well against Denver despite their tough interior, and he did really well against Minnesota despite Rudy Gobert. So I look for him to have a really good opportunity here against the Pelicans to do well again. And then we're going to take a look at Lou Dort for Oklahoma City. Now he has actually been playing pretty well. I typically don't like a ton of guys on Oklahoma City outside of Shea Alexander, but he is getting a ton of shots and he's playing a lot of minutes and he's getting a lot of peripheral stats. As long as he can continue that, his price point is pretty fair for his potential. And then we're going to look at Mikal Bridges for Phoenix. Cam Johnson may be out today, so if he is out, then Mikal will definitely get some advantage here. But he's already been playing over 35 minutes a game so far, and I look for him to continue that. And then until his price points come up, he's a pretty good value play for his position. Then we're going to look at power forward. First of all, we're going to look at Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley has been playing pretty solid for. Where'd he go? There he is. Sorry about that. He's been playing really good for Cleveland, especially with the injuries. Now, he hasn't had a big double-double yet, and he's kind of due for that. But he didn't play a ton of minutes yesterday because of the blowout nature of the game. But I do expect for him to bounce back today and have a big game as a result. This game should be closer. Washington and Cleveland are pretty evenly matched, I think. Probably guards are better on Washington or Cleveland, and at least for today. But Cleveland is shorthanded, so he's going to have to play a good complement of minutes. But if you want to go off of him a little bit, you can go to Kevin Love, who's also going to get a pretty good chunk of minutes here, and he's been playing pretty well to start. The only problem with him is that he really only plays 25 or so minutes, and so we do have to be a little bit concerned about that. A little bit risky, but overall he's been playing well, and he's been close to a double-double in both games, including the double-double he got yesterday. But he is kind of an old guy, so he may not play as many minutes today, but I still think he's in a good spot. I already mentioned Lauri Markkanen. Draymond Green looks like he's pretty interesting today. You're going to have to confirm that he is going to actually play over 25 minutes. In the first 2 games, there was a lot of inconsistency about how much he'd play, but in the second game, he really played like himself, and so he smashed his fantasy point perspective. So Steve Kerr, I'm sure, will give us more information before this game happens to figure out if he's going to be a good strategized play today, because he has a lot of upside if he can play the minutes. So if he gets around 30 minutes, he seems like a pretty great play for his price point, which will go up over the season as he gets more minutes. And then Jared Vanderbilt for Utah. He's in a great spot here. He's been playing about 20 to 22 minutes a game, and he's been, averaging over almost 1.5 fantasy points per minute. And that's the type of player we definitely like to see here. Obviously, he's getting lots of defensive stats and rebounds. He's not a big scorer, but that's really not his game. But they don't need him to score. They just need him to get rebounds and assists and steals, blocks, potentially. And so I think he's in a pretty good spot to have a solid game against New Orleans, where defense is going to be necessary for him. And he did pretty well against Denver and Minnesota both. So I really like him in this matchup. At center, I have my favorite play of the day, and that's DeAndre Ayton. He's just too cheap for his potential production here at $6,500. It's just way too much value for his price point. He's been stellar to start the season. I'm surprised that he's this cheap. I know the Clippers are a decent defensive team, but as far as center-wise, they really don't have too much that can hold a candle to him, and I expect him to dominate in this game. Then we're going to look at Evan Mobley. I already mentioned him, and I'm going to take a look at Domantas Sabonis. Now, Sabonis has some upside in this one because the Warriors don't have a ton that can stop him outside of Draymond Green. The other defensive players on Golden State are not going to be able to handle him, and I suspect that the Kings are going to go to him a lot in this particular game to try to exploit that. and so I do like him as a good option here. He's a little bit inconsistent to start the season, but overall last year when he was with the Kings, once he got into a groove, he played really well. And then I'm going to mention Kevin Love and Draymond Green again. So overall, I think this slate is pretty solid. The only other player that I would say that we could take a look at is Rudy Gobert, but he is a little bit pricey today. You could say the same thing for Steph Curry as well, a little bit overpriced. But overall, it's a really solid slate. I think it's going to be a high-scoring slate, despite there's only 5 games. I think there's a lot of ways you can kind of build and mix and match lineups. But overall, my top 3 plays are Gobert, Shea Alexander, and Donovan Mitchell. Those are just overall my top 3 plays. And so if you start with those guys, I think you can build a quality lineup. That said, thank you guys for liking, commenting, subscribing. Feel free to jump in the Discord on description. The link is in the description. And have a nice day, guys.